My mother died 3 months ago. Cancer, stage 4, moved fast. We had 6 weeks from diagnosis to funeral, and most of that time she was too sick to have coherent conversations. I never got to ask her the questions I needed to ask. Now I'll never get the answers I deserve. My name is Claire Hutchinson, or at least, that's what I've been called my entire life. I'm 38 years old, I'm a high school English teacher in Austin, Texas, and until 2 weeks ago, I thought I knew who I was. I thought I knew where I came from. I thought I understood my family. I was wrong about everything. Let me back up. My mother, Ellen Hutchinson, was a reserved woman. Quiet, private, deeply religious. She raised me alone. My father died when I was 2, a car accident, or so she always told me. We didn't have much money. She worked as a seamstress, taking in alterations and making wedding dresses for local brides. We lived in a small house in a small town in Louisiana. It was just the 2 of us against the world. She never remarried. Never even dated, as far as I knew. When I asked about it as a teenager, she'd say, "Your father was my one true love. There's no replacing him." It was romantic and sad, and I accepted it without question. We weren't close, exactly. She loved me, I never doubted that, but there was always a distance between us. A wall I could never quite breach. She didn't talk about her feelings, didn't share stories from her past, didn't keep photo albums or mementos. Our house was sparse, functional, almost impersonal. When I went to college, she seemed relieved to have the space to herself. I moved to Austin for work, got married, later divorced, built a life. I called her every Sunday. Visited twice a year. We had a cordial, if not deeply intimate, relationship. I accepted that was just how she was. When she got sick, I moved back to Louisiana to take care of her. Those 6 weeks were brutal, watching her waste away, knowing we were running out of time, wanting to say so many things but not knowing how to start. One night, about a week before she died, she was heavily medicated and drifting in and out of consciousness. I was sitting by her bed, holding her hand, when she suddenly gripped my fingers hard. "Claire," she whispered, her eyes wide and frightened. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "It's okay, Mom. You don't need to apologize for anything. You don't understand. I should have told you. I should have." She started coughing, couldn't catch her breath. By the time the nurse got her stabilized, she'd slipped back into unconsciousness. She never regained clarity after that. She died 6 days later without finishing that thought. I should have told you. Those words haunted me through the funeral, through the weeks of sorting her affairs, through the process of closing her accounts and cleaning out her house. What should she have told me? What secret was she carrying? The house itself yielded no answers. She'd lived simply, kept little. Her closet had basic clothes. Her kitchen had mismatched dishes. There were no photo albums, no journals, no boxes of keepsakes. It was like she'd deliberately kept her life free of evidence. But there was the attic. I'd never been up there. She'd always said it was just insulation and old junk. But as I was preparing to sell the house, I figured I should check. The attic was accessed by a pull-down ladder in the hallway ceiling. I climbed up with a flashlight, expecting dust and cobwebs and maybe some water damage. Instead, I found a box. A single cardboard box, sitting by itself in the middle of the attic floor. Not covered in dust, not shoved in a corner, but placed deliberately where anyone who came up would see it immediately. I brought it down to the kitchen and opened it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them, maybe 100, bundled with rubber bands. And underneath the letters, a stack of photographs I'd never seen before. I picked up the first photo. A young woman, maybe 20 years old, with dark curly hair and a bright smile. She was wearing bell-bottom jeans and a peasant blouse, very 1970s. She was standing in front of a college building I didn't recognize, laughing at whoever was taking the picture. It took me a moment to realize I was looking at my mother. I'd never seen a photo of her that young. In all the pictures I'd grown up with, she was already in her 30s, already wearing the conservative dresses and tired expression I associated with her. This girl in the photo looked nothing like the mother I knew. She looked happy. Carefree. Alive. I flipped through more photos. My mother at what looked like a protest, holding a sign about women's rights. My mother at a party, drink in hand, surrounded by friends. My mother kissing a man who definitely wasn't my father, the man I'd seen in the one photo she'd kept of him. This was a different person. This was someone with a whole life I'd never known about. Then I opened the letters. The first bundle was love letters, written to my mother from someone named David. They were dated from 1983 to 1984, and they were beautiful, passionate, poetic, deeply romantic. David wrote about their future together, about the life they'd built, about how much he loved her. Ellen, my darling, I count the days until I can make you my wife. Every moment away from you is agony. You are my heart, my soul, my everything. I checked the dates. 1984, that's when my mother would have been pregnant with me. So David was my father? But she'd always said my father's name was Robert. I kept reading. The letters continued through 1984, growing more passionate, more urgent. David talked about leaving his job, starting fresh somewhere new with Ellen. He talked about the baby me and how excited he was to be a father. Then the letters stopped. Abruptly. The last one was dated March 15, 1985. I was born in April 1985. I opened another bundle. These letters were from my mother to someone named Catherine. They were drafts, it seemed letters she'd written but never sent, or copies she'd kept. The first one was dated April 30, 1985. 2 weeks after I was born. Dear Catherine, I don't know how to tell you this, but I have to try. David is gone. Not dead, I wish he were dead, that would be easier to explain. He's just gone. He left me. He left us. The baby came, and he looked at her, and he left. I thought he loved me. I thought we were building a life together. But the moment things got real, the moment responsibility became tangible, he ran. I'm alone with a newborn and no money and no idea what to do. I can't come home. Mom and Dad would never forgive me for this. I've made my choices, and now I have to live with them. I sat at the kitchen table, hands shaking, reading words my mother had written 38 years ago. David hadn't died. He'd abandoned us. But that didn't explain why she'd told me his name was Robert. That didn't explain the photos she'd kept, the story she'd told about the car accident. I kept reading. More letters to Catherine, chronicling my mother's struggle as a single parent, her decision to move to Louisiana, her determination to build a new life. Then I found a letter that changed everything. It was dated June 1985, 2 months after I was born. Dear Catherine, I've made a decision. I'm going to tell Claire that her father died when she was a baby. It's easier than explaining that he abandoned us. It's kinder than telling her she wasn't wanted. And the truth is, the man I loved did die. The David I thought I knew doesn't exist. The man who left me is a stranger. So in a way, it's not even a lie. I'm creating a new story for both of us. A story where we weren't left, where we were loved. Where her father was a good man who died tragically, not a coward who ran away. She deserves that story. And maybe if I tell it enough times, I'll believe it too. I'm also changing some details. I'll tell her his name was Robert, not David. I'll create a different history, a cleaner history. One that doesn't hurt so much to remember. I couldn't breathe. My entire childhood, my entire understanding of my father, was a lie. A deliberate fabrication my mother had created to protect me or herself. But there was more. So much more. I found another bundle of letters, these ones addressed to my mother from a lawyer. They were dated 1986 through 1990. Legal letters about a custody case. A child custody case. I read them in growing confusion and horror. Someone had been fighting for custody of a child. But that didn't make sense, my mother had full custody of me. There was no custody battle. My father was dead, or gone, I now knew, so who? Then I found the court documents. Tucked at the bottom of the box. Official papers with case numbers and judge signatures. In the matter of Catherine Novak versus Ellen Hutchinson, regarding custody of minor child Claire Elizabeth Novak. I read that line 3 times before it sank in. Claire Elizabeth Novak. Not Hutchinson. Novak. My hands were numb as I kept reading. The documents told a story I couldn't process. Catherine Novak, the woman my mother had been writing to, wasn't a friend. She was my biological mother. Ellen Hutchinson wasn't my mother at all. She was my aunt. According to the court documents, Catherine Novak had given birth to me in April 1985. But Catherine had been in trouble, drug addiction, the papers said, along with an abusive relationship. When I was 3 months old, Catherine had left me with her sister Ellen temporarily while she got her life together. She never came back. Or rather, she tried to come back, and Ellen refused to give me back. The custody battle lasted 4 years. Catherine trying to reclaim her daughter. Ellen, my mother, arguing that Catherine was unfit, that I was better off with her, that I didn't even know Catherine, that it would be traumatic to remove me from the only home I'd known. The judge sided with Ellen. In 1990, Ellen was granted full legal custody. My name was legally changed from Claire Elizabeth Novak to Claire Elizabeth Hutchinson. Catherine was granted supervised visitation rights. According to a final letter from the lawyer, dated 1991, Catherine never exercised those visitation rights. She'd disappeared. Last known address in Florida. No contact information. I sat in my dead aunt's kitchen. Surrounded by 38 years of lies, and I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't process. Everything I knew about myself was wrong. Ellen wasn't my mother, she was my aunt. David wasn't my father, he was. I didn't even know. The custody papers didn't name a father. And somewhere out there, maybe still alive, was my real mother. Catherine. The woman who'd given birth to me and then lost me. I spent the next week in a fog, reading and rereading every letter, every document, trying to piece together the truth. Ellen, I couldn't call her mom anymore, not even in my head, had taken me when Catherine was vulnerable and had essentially stolen me. Oh, she'd done it legally, through the courts, but she'd taken advantage of her sister's situation and made me her own. The letters from Ellen to Catherine were heartbreaking. In the early ones, Ellen genuinely seemed to think she was helping. I'm taking care of Claire while you recover. Take all the time you need. But as the months went by, the tone changed. Claire calls me Mama now. She doesn't remember you. It would be cruel to disrupt her life. And finally, I'm filing for custody. You're not capable of being a mother. I am. I've given her stability, love, everything you couldn't provide. Catherine's letters, there were only a few, and they were photocopies from the court case, were desperate. Please, Ellen. She's my daughter. I made mistakes, but I'm better now. Please let me see her. Please don't take her from me. But Ellen had taken me. And she'd spent the rest of her life maintaining the lie. Creating a fictional father named Robert who died in a car accident. Never mentioning Catherine. Never telling me I had a whole other family out there. I should have told you. Those were her last coherent words to me. She knew she was dying, knew I'd probably find the box eventually, knew the truth would come out. And she was sorry. But sorry doesn't give me back 38 years of truth. Sorry doesn't tell me who I really am. I hired a private investigator to find Catherine. It took him 3 days. Catherine Novak is alive. She's 62 years old, and she lives in Tampa, Florida. She's a substance abuse counselor, has been clean for 30 years, and works helping other addicts recover. She never married. Never had other children. The investigator said he spoke to her briefly, asked if she'd be willing to be contacted by someone from her past. She asked who. He said a woman named Claire. She started crying and said yes. I have her phone number. It's been sitting on my kitchen counter for 4 days. I haven't called yet. I don't know what to say. Hi, I'm the daughter you lost 38 years ago. Hi, I just found out you exist. Hi, my entire life has been a lie. Part of me is angry at Catherine. She was the one who got into drugs, who got into a bad relationship, who left me with Ellen. If she'd been more responsible, more capable, none of this would have happened. But part of me is angry at Ellen too. She watched her sister struggle, and instead of helping her, she took her child. She could have supported Catherine while maintaining a relationship between mother and daughter, but instead she erased Catherine completely. She built her entire life on a lie and forced me to live in that lie too. And part of me, most of me, is just lost. I don't know who I am anymore. I've spent 38 years as Claire Hutchinson, daughter of Ellen, whose father Robert died when she was 2. That person doesn't exist. She never existed. So who am I? I called my ex-husband last night. We've been divorced for 5 years, but we're still friendly. I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time, then said, Claire, you're still you. Your DNA might be different than you thought, your family tree might look different, but you're still the same person you were last month. This doesn't change who you are. But it does. It changes everything. Every memory I have of my childhood is now colored by this lie. Every time Ellen, I can't stop thinking of her as mom, even though I'm trying. Every time she told me stories about my father, she was lying. Every birthday, every Mother's Day, every conversation we had was built on a foundation of deception. I found something else in the box yesterday. At the very bottom, under all the letters and documents. A small photo album I'd missed the first time. It was pictures of me as a baby and toddler. But in these photos, there were two women. Ellen and another woman with strawberry blonde hair and sad eyes. Catherine. My real mother. In one photo, Catherine is holding me. I'm maybe 6 months old, and she's looking at me with such love, such longing. Ellen is standing beside her, and the tension between them is visible even in a photograph. In another photo, I'm taking my first steps. Catherine has her arms outstretched, trying to catch me. Ellen is in the background, watching. The last photo is dated December 1986. I'm about 20 months old, sitting on Catherine's lap, both of us looking at the camera. Catherine looks tired, defeated. That must have been right before Ellen filed for custody. After that photo, Catherine disappears from my visual history entirely. No more pictures, no more evidence she ever existed. Ellen cut her out completely. And then she spent the rest of her life making sure I never knew. I keep thinking about that last conversation. I should have told you. She knew. She knew it was wrong. She knew I deserved the truth. But she never found the courage to give it to me. I understand, in an abstract way, why she did what she did. She loved me, I don't doubt that. She raised me, cared for me, sacrificed for me. In her mind, she probably thought she was doing the right thing. Protecting me from a messy, complicated truth. Giving me a simple, clean story. But it wasn't her truth to control. It was mine. And she stole it from me. I'm going to call Catherine. I have to. She's spent 38 years wondering about me, grieving me, living with the loss. She deserves to know I'm okay. That I grew up healthy and educated and mostly happy. That her daughter, even if she didn't raise her, turned out okay. But I'm terrified. What if she's angry that I waited so long to call? What if she blames me for not finding her sooner? What if meeting her ruins the image I'm building in my head of the mother I never knew? What if she's wonderful and we connect and I realize everything I lost, all the years we could have had together? I don't know which outcome scares me more. I also found out I have other family. Catherine has 2 brothers who are still alive. I have uncles I've never met. Cousins. A whole extended family that Ellen hid from me. There's also the question of my father. David, the man who abandoned Ellen, or Catherine. I'm still confused about the timeline. The custody papers don't name him. Maybe Catherine will tell me. Maybe I'll finally know where I come from. Or maybe I'll find out my father is someone else entirely. Maybe David wasn't even real. Maybe that's another lie in a tapestry of lies. I don't know what happens next. I don't know who I am or where I belong or how to reconcile the 2 women who call themselves my mother, one who raised me but lied to me, one who gave birth to me but couldn't keep me. All I know is that Ellen Hutchinson died 3 months ago, and she took the simple truth of my identity with her. Now I'm left picking up the pieces of a shattered story, trying to build something coherent from the fragments. Tomorrow, I'm going to call Catherine. I'm going to say, "Hi, my name is Claire. I think you're my mother." And then? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll build a relationship. Maybe it'll be too late, too much time has passed, too much damage has been done. Maybe I'll end up with 2 mothers, one I grieve, one I'm getting to know. Maybe I'll end up with none. But I deserve to know the truth. I deserve to meet the woman who gave birth to me. I deserve to decide for myself what family means. Ellen tried to control that narrative for 38 years. She doesn't get to control it anymore. I should have told you, she said. You're right, Mom. You should have. But you didn't, and now I have to figure this out on my own. Wish me luck.